At the edge of the universe, 400 men and women are probing the immeasurable blackness of space. Their leaders are an Earthman with no fear and a stranger with no heart. Travel beyond our time and solar system, into new galaxies, into worlds beyond your dreams. Star Trek, every week, in color.
Can it be Halloween, Tuesday, October 31st, 3 p.m. Pacific Earth time? If that's the case, then surely it's time for serious Star Trek. Oh, I'm your green-faced buddy in costume for Halloween. Dantron here to bring in those guys that you love. You know them, you love them. John, Dr. John, that is. Oh, he hates Wi-Fi, and I see his connection like flickering as we speak. So we better bring in, while we still can, the doctor.
If all of a sudden I just kind of freeze out and don't say anything, just go with it. Just
Interdimensional.
like that.
What do they call it? Subspace interference, right? Well, that's what we'll call it. And
We'll call it that.
but let's bring in that guy. The guy who guides us. He takes us on a voyage. We're all going somewhere. He's taking us there. The captain of fun. It's Larry Young. Hey, Larry.
Hey, Dan. Hey, John. Happy Halloween.
Thank you.
I love Halloween because of the whole costume fixation I have. And so that's why I'm dressed as Jane from Firefly. The particular episode where his mom makes him this hat. I forget what it's called. I wasn't even really that big a Firefly fan. Firefly fan. But my wife was. And so, man, that's a great excuse to watch, some sci-fi. If your wife is into it, that's pretty rare. I don't want to speak for John.
Is this your actual Halloween costume? Because it's been 30 days of, I figured.
This is just
like mid-morning Halloween costume, pre-costume costume.
So, as you know, I try to Star Trek it up when we do Star Trek. And I literally had my little puffy thing and my little fat man vest with the bomber jacket. I was ready to go. And then I was like, no, dude, that's just a regular Tuesday, right? So let's have a funny. And so then I just put this on while I was figuring out what I was going to wear. And then I was like, dude, why don't I just put the hat on and then call it done?
Well, I like to think of it as it's not the Larry we know in a costume. This is Captain Fun wearing a costume, right? This is like what Captain Fun dresses up on as Halloween.
That's a pretty what is the appearance versus reality, and what is the nature of identity? Is Captain Fun a separate guy? Is it an aspect of some bigger Larry thing? Who knows?
This is what I'm saying. Dantron would go into this, although it takes away from my new cloning lab set that I built for the thumbnail today, and has now become a new set for Serious Star Trek.
As cool as I think that is, I think it might be cursed. Because Dr. John just sent me a thing saying he can't even connect at all.
Oh,
and so if that was a real clone thing, we could just clone John and then be fine, right?
Impossible.
So,
I tried it. I had the AI version of all of us, that I created a long time ago.
I love those. Let me just write sorry, man, to him, because I know he's just going to give up.
Well, and that's what today's episode.
I mean, it's Halloween, right? I mean, whatever. It's an easy excuse. I got something else to do.
There's plenty of it's no problem. But today's episode title, Body Double Triple Threat, I felt sounded so Quinn Martin. It sounds to me like an episode of Canon or something.
It almost sounds like Police Squad, where they're making fun of that, right?
Yes.
A bird in the hand. Tonight's episode, the butler did it.
I can only do so many. I can only do so many sci-fi puns, so we got to mix it up once in a while.
Man, I love to see Philo saying Happy Catspaw Day, and I think that is the source of John's digital connection issues. That he doesn't want to watch us gang up on him about how Catspaw is actually a Halloween episode. And people who think it isn't, I just think I haven't. I usually call them Morlocks, some kind of sci-fi thing. I'm going to hit them with a Ghostbusters quote on this one, and they never studied. Which is a scathing insult if you're a Ghostbusters fan. The message, yeah, Sagasag's right. That's the name of the Firefly thing. And bisexual comedians.
Yeah, don't just spam. So I was gonna put it up, but it's just garbage. But that's okay. You know what? We'll take we need all the viewers we can get. Full commie, so bring it.
I actually enjoy interaction of any kind, and I have a really cool story. It's not Star Trek related, but it's more like social media / real socialness.
Well, it never stopped us before, Larry, not being strict.
Yeah, no, I know. And plus John isn't here, so it's, we can be adults. Speaking of this, I had to go to UPS to get something notarized. It's just the easiest thing to do. A UPS store just up the street. I can do it in like 10 minutes. It's no big thing. So on August 23rd, I had this thing notarized. I faxed it to the people. I had to fax it, believe it or not, to the people that needed it. And then they sat around for 2 months and then went, oh, you need this other bit. And I'm like, you're out of your fucking minds. It's a thing called a jurat, which is just a thing that notarizes the notary. Now, in California and Florida are the only two states that do this. And when I did it, the initial thing on August 23rd, California hadn't passed this yet. So it took these motherfuckers enough time for legislation to pass and then have me go, what the fuck? It's been 2 months. And they're like, oh, you don't have a jurat. And I'm like, it's right there. And they're like, no, they did this thing that added one more sentence. So now it's like the notary is also verifying your identity. And I'm like, that's the whole fucking point of a notary, right? I had to show him my license and did my thumbprint. Yeah, I know. But now California, since you're in California, you have to have this extra bit of paper. And like Mimi was in on this call too. And she started to go after them like she was me. And I uncharacteristically went, hey, Meme, we just need this token to advance in the game. And she went, all right. And then we went, thank you. Can we help you with anything else? No, that's okay. I shammed the phone and she swore for 90 seconds. It was so funny.
It's almost the inverse. Today, I got back from City Hall, my local City Hall, because I want to remodel my house. And so I got to get permission from all my neighbors. And then the city gets to chime in with how it should look and all this different stuff. And so my wife was there. She kept a couple times. She kept me from going off the rails, which I'm, believe it or not, known to do on occasion.
Do you think that would have happened anyway, or do you think that's a new thing in the Trump era? Where it's unfair. Maybe we shouldn't politicize it, but it's definitely the Karen era. I think we can all agree on that, right? It just seems like neighbors have a lot more shit to say than they did in the old days.
In this case, I don't mind. Like, I want my neighbors, I want their opinions, but it's this the city having their say and telling me like what I can do and I can't do. Right. Anyway, that I got out of that frustration layer. I'm here for Star Trek, baby. I even started watching Lower Decks.
That's awesome.
I'm like, I'll just watch the new one so I can talk about it and see if I can just dip in. So I watched the latest episode. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was it's definitely Rick and Morty with a Star Trek twist, but I still mean that in a bad way. Like, it's got the instead of the nihilism that is Rick and Morty, it substitutes like Starfleet and like in jokes instead of the dumb in jokes that Rick and Morty does. Not that they're dumb, but whatever. And so I could appreciate it on the same level, and it was fun. And the two things that really won me over was, one, I started watching it, and I hate this shit. That's not me doing that. So the two things I liked is one, it felt like watching.
Wait a minute, I hate to get you off, but what do you mean that's not you doing that? Someone else is giving you.
Yes, it is. It's artificial intelligence that is watching this and doing things. It's doing that. I didn't do that.
What? So if I was to move around, would it do something,
Put
or do
two
you just,
thumbs up in the air, Larry.
or do you just have
Two thumbs up
something
is fine.
activated? Hey, yeah, that's fucking great.
Dude, I have
No,
no idea why that's
you have something activated.
when that
All right.
started happening, but it sickens me. Anyway,
Anyway, sorry. Okay.
the two things I really like about Lower Decks, the two features that made me like it was it just had a very next generation feel to the story beats and structure and character. And I was like, oh, this feels very comfortable and at home. And then they're 30 minutes. So
Yeah.
very easy for me to watch. And also easy to sometimes even just listen to a little bit. Like if I'm working on something else, I can have it in a small window, and it's almost like a radio play for part of it. But
that's cool.
Yeah, no. So overall, definitely enjoyed it. Had no drawbacks to it at all.
I definitely. It was a rough start for me because I hate cartoons, right?
You are.
And I really didn't like the design of the Cerritos. And
I could quibble with that for sure.
No, I mean, just like this is my going into it, right? And there was one other thing. Oh, the whole Titmouse animation guys are the guys who did Rick and Morty. And all my Rick and Morty buddies are going, "Oh, it's so fucking great." And I'm like, I don't care about Rick and Morty. It's clear. You just look at the art and you're like, hey, that's some college guy did a bunch of drugs and said, let's take the archetypes from Back to the Future and do crazy drug shit. I get it. I don't need to watch that show ever. I get what's going on.
It's great. It is really great for sci-fi.
I'm sure it is.
It's great,
right? But I'm just saying,
Yeah,
I want to watch something with pretty people.
Yeah, I got you.
Not pretty drawings, because I'm a comics fan. I already got as much pretty drawings. So anyway, so that's where I was for Lower Decks, and I had a weird ass experience because of who I am with Star Trek, right? I had some crazy cognitive dissonance for like the first 3 episodes, because they were full on Star Trek episodes, but you saw an hour's worth Star Trek in a half an hour. And because the speed and pacing is fucking ass sitcom, 22 minutes.
It's good that way.
So no, that's fantastic. But they were able to do Star Trek in that format, and it flipped my gourd. I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, where are the things where you sit and you think about how this is going to impact the Federation? Oh, guess what? That's not that show, but it's still Star Trek. And so this actually leads me into a little rant that I had from yesterday. I posted some stuff in our Facebook about fucking Screen Rant, man. Those cheese dick motherfuckers. They did an article called "The 10 Sexiest Vulcan Women," which is like, guys, it's women 2023. Like, do the sexiest girls from the old show, because then you can at least, with your head up high, saying this article was written for 65-year-old white guys. Right? And then you go, at least everybody knows what's going on. But in 2023, to go, here are the 10 sexiest Vulcan women of all of Star Trek, you're just a fucking misogynist who cannot read the room. So given that, it made me think about T'Lyn, from the new character from Lower Decks, and how I fucking love that character.
That's the Vulcan character?
The new Vulcan chick. And so they had, like, if you look at the structure of the show, I don't know how familiar with you are with the earlier stuff, but like they're Lower Decks, it's in the title. They're the shitheads of even kind of a B-level ship, right? And so this season, they're all ensigns or provisional lieutenants or some shit, because they got promoted. But they're still, it's cool because the Lower Deck thing is still a theme. So they brought in this Vulcan chick who's a provisional Vulcan Starfleet girl, who's just not, she's not Vulcan enough for the Vulcans, and she's not human enough for the humans, but she's not Spock. She just has like a bent sense of humor that fits in with all the other characters, and you're like, why was this character not there from the beginning? And I'm like, I don't know if I'd like it as much, because she just shows up, and it made me think of how cool it is to write Vulcans, that they do this to Vulcans in the live action show as well, that some crazy Star Trek thing is going on, and they just sit there and say, why, yes, the top came off of the mustard bottle, and that is why everything fell. And it's fucking hilarious, because that's not a thing anyone says in real life, but it's a thought you have. So they make Vulcans be like literally the outside force commenting on what's going on, and it's never more obvious and never more subtle with that character. It's like fucking Spock level how they write that, like old Spock, where they like had figured out that character and he'd cry because Leia Kalomi can't love a girl, and that shit is what they're doing with this girl, except with comedy, and it makes me think Mike McMahon is a fucking genius.
It definitely reminds me of my good old Red Dwarf too. Like a lot of the same kind of character beats and moments, and like because British, they have that little subtle like bit of cheekiness to it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, my thing, I never really got into Red Dwarf because I used to watch Blake Seven, like a religion, and so it's the same. The early Red Dwarf is the same production value, right? And it's the same thing except funny.
Yes.
So it's like,
yes,
it's like, oh, you're making fun of the thing I took seriously. I kind of don't.
Yes.
So in the old, when I was younger, I didn't have the two thoughts in your head at the same time thing. Like the only movie I ever walked out of was Spaceballs, because they're like fucking making fun of Star Wars.
That's a great point. Like Spaceballs to me, not I wouldn't call it that funny. And the sci-fi is not. It's making fun of sci-fi. Whereas something like Rick or Morty, or especially Red Dwarf 2, it was what got me as a kid was like, this is goofy and funny, like in a Mel Brooksy, like jokey way, and there's a laugh track and stuff. But they took all the science fiction concepts like really seriously, but put a funny just twist on it. So a lot of stuff with time travel and aliens, like all the standard Star Trek sci-fi tropes, and then get to put a funny twist on it. In the 80s, that was pretty brave of them to do. I think like nobody really did it before. What was a sci-fi?
What are you talking about? Rick and Morty's from the 80s?
No. I'm talking about Red Dwarf.
Oh, Red Dwarf. I'm sorry.
It was so long ago. It was like the first.
Yeah, good job, Red Dwarf.
It was the first one that I can remember that was a parody of sci-fi, but not making fun of it in the way like that Spaceballs was. Like Spaceballs was Mel Brooks just making gags and puns and jokes. He didn't love sci-fi in any way. Like some of these other shows do.
Yeah, but you know what's cool about it as an adult? Like now, of course, I've seen it several times, and I totally get what he was just doing. Mel Brooks, right?
Yes.
And he was doing to Star Wars what he did to westerns with Blazing Saddles,
absolutely,
and to Hitchcock. And so, like as a kid, I didn't get that, right? So looking back on it, it's like it really doesn't have to be that funny because it's a Mel Brooks movie. So like. When you're buying your ticket, you know what a Mel Brooks movie is. It's like Scream for like people who know who Lawrence Welk is, right? So there's just a level of humor that you're gonna get or not get, right, from a Mel Brooks movie. So he just did that to science fiction, and I was like, why are you making the fucking Statue of Liberty from Planet of the Apes into a vacuum cleaner? Like fuck you. Like but then it's like, no, that's actually a pretty good joke. I was just really fucking adolescent serious about the stuff I was serious about.
I do think it was from the very big, someone might call it the end of his great period or the beginning of his not as great period of films. Like to put it up against Blazing Saddles or Young Frankenstein, it doesn't hold up just as a movie level, and it's not as funny to me in hindsight when I watch it.
I agree with you, but I kind of like go, that's really an impossible standard, right? Because
they're master.
Blazing Saddles, totally. Those things are just lightning in a bottle. Like the cast lines up, the idea lines up, everything lines up. And so Spaceballs being like a B- movie, still wildly entertaining, but it's like you do think it's like, oh, this is one of like his lesser efforts.
I also think the difference is that his affection for like old Western movies or old black and white horror movies, that was probably more his deal when he was really young. So the loving attention to detail is there, and maybe a little less so when it comes to the but
I think that's in the text of the movie. Like Mel Brooks is super aware of that. That's what the whole like Spaceballs, the towel
Yeah.
baseball. That's what that is all
That's
about.
the funniest part
He's-
to me of
he's-
the movie. That bit of satire, that part in particular.
But it's also self-aware, right? Because he's
Yes.
like, yes, I
Yeah.
obviously took this money as a
True.
fucking thing, and here you go. It's Spaceballs the movie. Thank you.
Mel's a
Cut the check.
genius. I can't. Who am I to second guess him on anything, dude? He's
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think the way we talk about stuff is really second guessing what creative people are doing. It's just it's an informed interpretation of what we got out of the final product, and we can sort of back engineer it a little, and until you get to stuff that you don't.
I'm of a like mind with our pal Philo here, generally speaking.
I don't even know what's after high anxiety.
Yeah, there's a lot.
is History of the World Part 1 after that?
Before, I think right before.
Because I love History of the World.
That's one of the all-time greats. That's probably my favorite, actually.
You don't even know. Like when my kid was like 6 or 8, like he would say a lot of shit from movies and not know where it was from. And so like I got talked to because I would be like, state of the badass art with aliens, and he said that on the resource thing, and I had to go explain that. But he said, he used to say, "Sarah, the peasants are revolting," like all the time in like a perfect cadence, just because I said it that way, right? And like it didn't happen all the time, but you would catch an adult that would do like a triple take. Like, how does that kid, that little, is he doing Mel? Holy shit!
It
was funny.
I had a close encounter with Mel Brooks one-on-one, valet parking at Caesar's Palace in Vegas.
Wow, this is awesome already.
There's a little bench, and my dad was sitting on it. My dad was an old guy at the time, but then up walks like the Mel Brooks, who's a really old
1,000-year-old man, right?
But wait, he's helping carry the oldest man. Like the 1,000-year-old man is like with him. And so Mel Brooks comes and asks us if he could have the seat for the oldest guy who was with it. It was really it was a cool. My closest celebrity encounter for sure.
What? Come on. You must have seen tons of folks in cons and stuff.
At cons, yeah, but never just in the real
world.
No anybody between us.
Really? Even San Francisco? Oh my God.
I can't think of anybody bigger than Mel.
Not bigger. Holy God. Is there anyone bigger than Mel still currently?
Or even on the same level? Like I never ran into Robin Williams as long as I was in San Francisco.
Used to shop at Comics Experience.
I ran into Rob Lowe once.
That's cool.
Isn't that? It was at a steakhouse in Washington, D.C., and he's really tiny. Thank you. I love you. Need my Romulan ale.
Romulan ale.
But yeah, I'm like super tall, and I physically ran into him, and he was wearing this like all white linen, like not a suit. I guess it was a suit, and he was there to meet somebody. He was like, "Oh, hey, I'm Rob Lowe," and like, but he wasn't like inadvertently cut in between these two people making this business connection as I was on my way to drunk piss. So it was fun. It was a really good time. Hey guys, how you doing?
John Price,
Star Trek.
I'm very excited. The only thing you missed is like a complete dissection of the latest Lower Decks. Dan saw it.
Oh, you mean
no, we didn't dive into
we
didn't dive into any specifics of the episode at all yet. So it's good. Perfect.
So basically the opposite of what I just said. I was trying to prank you, and I guess that's a Devil's Night thing, which was yesterday, and not like a.
I blew it. Sorry, Larry.
I love
Mischief Night in New Jersey.
Yeah, we used to call it Cabbage Night up in Vermont. It's all got all.
I've heard of that.
All kinds of names.
It's a Cabbage Night.
You have or haven't?
No, I have. I've heard of Cabbage Night. No.
Well, that's because you live
folklorist
up in the. I forgot for a second. Oh wait, don't you have some kind of an announcement? Don't you have like some kind of verbal agreement that you're going to be published in a?
I don't know. I haven't signed an NDA, so I guess I can talk about anything.
Dan, you remember my loose cannon thing for CBR? I did a column back in the old days.
Yeah, totally.
This was a cool run, man. Warren Ellis did it for a year. I did it for a year. Matt Fraction did it for a year, and then James Syme did it for a year. That was a cool run, and then all of us would just kind of like step in to each other's things. Like I interviewed Matt, and anyway, we're collecting that book. And noted folklorist John Price, PhD. I've heard this. It's a rumor that he's talking to the publisher about possibly doing the introduction. So that's I read that.
It's in the hot sheets. So
I read that on Deadline this morning.
That's right. Yeah, so that would be fun. Now I just have to read a book, which is yay.
I told you, just skim it, man. Whoever wrote that thing is just blowhard.
It's like I teach my students. You don't have to read every word to understand what's going on.
Do you say that to your students? Because that explains some of their grades.
The better ones. I'll say it to the ones who can actually read. You know, the ones who can't read, I'm like, no, you need to read every single word. Yeah.
I love how Gons goes, holy shit, John's here. It's like, yeah, he was here, and then you came.
No,
he
wasn't
came back.
Now he's here again. Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on. My internet has sucked literally the entire time. I don't know what the hell. I don't understand it. I don't know how the world works. So whatever. I guess I need a new computer. Anyway, let's talk about how much Cat's Paw sucks. And it's not a Halloween episode.
Philo is here. So I was sad that we couldn't jump on you. I think it's really.
Hey, isn't it Philo's birthday?
Is it really Halloween? Happy birthday, man! That's cool.
We need you to confirm that in the comments.
Philo. He's dipping in and out though. It's peak trick or treat time for him, apparently.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. 6:30.
Yeah.
Oh man, I remember
when I lived in Pennsylvania, they would literally. I don't know. I'm sure other places do this. Sticker. So like this town would have Halloween on this night, and then the next day would be a different town. So like,
oh really?
It was the stupidest thing, but it would be like Tuesday the 13th, and you're having Halloween, and it's like this is not Halloween. I also heard trunk or treat. I heard that phrase today for the first time.
Oh yeah.
So in other words, you go and you drive around as opposed to walking around. Trunk or treat.
That was it can be fun because it gets to be kind of like a flea market. It's all the places where I've saw it, they do it in church parking lots. And so they'll just line up on one side and then the other, and then do little like tossing darts and shit. And
that's a good idea.
A little thing out of it. And then there's like at a particular time, there's like a little parade, and all the kids go around and get all this stuff. And there's always some guy who's like has dragged like his dead car and like has just gutted it and is like has put his fucking grill in the trunk and is like cooking hamburgers out of this car, and so everybody loves it because it's a Halloween costume.
That's a lot like the Taylor Swift movie I went to. Just a parade of children and weird old guys.
We were just about to rank. We were trying to rank Orson Welles, Taylor Swift. I'm still trying to get that down exactly right.
He is. It's his birthday. So
is that good or bad? Is that like Christmas? Born on Christmas, people usually complain. Born on Halloween, I think, is a different story.
Oh, I didn't even think of that because birthdays are always awesome.
Yeah, but birthday, and people would say with birthday on Christmas, they go, I get gypped for my birthday present.
Oh, it's true. You don't get two presents.
Man, in my family, if somebody was born on Halloween, they would be like the star of the family.
How awesome would
because everybody loved Halloween, but it's your birthday too.
Yeah.
It would be like the opposite in our family. Like they would always have the best costume because everybody would team up for what they needed. Hey man, these are $200 boots. It's a birthday present. But, but at least you're getting something, right?
Yeah, and you're having a great Halloween party every
year. You're the fucking star every year.
Excuse.
My family, that would be awesome. I'm actually sad that my birthday was not Halloween. Thanks for bringing that up.
Love this guy, and
that's awesome.
That's a good costume.
I was bowled over to see that guy show up in
Lower Decks. That's right.
I was larfing the whole time. It was the gag was a little predictable but funny. They did it right.
It was a good one. Yes, Philo has confirmed it is his birthday.
Yeah.
So we all need to I don't know.
Yeah.
Sing? Are we gonna sing? I don't want to sing.
We don't sing.
No, we're not singing. Okay. All right, no singing.
Wait a minute. How about find a fun sound effect for him?
I do have this combination from Talos 4.
Oh boy,
that I'm working on. And you know what? When I finish it, it's done on the inside. Oh my! I had a little thread on there that was making things even, and I just ripped it off. But you know what? When I finish that, I'm going to send it to Philo.
Aw.
Happy birthday, man!
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
No one else can ever have a birthday on the show now.
Why is that? Because
That's it.
Can't
I
take
don't want to
the
set.
Halloween
I don't
break.
want to set the precedent that we're just going to give people stuff on their birthday. You know what I mean?
why
That's-
not?
that's
I have a
bad
bunch of
precedent.
random shit here. I might even send him a Spock ear.
Ooh, Spock ear. Just one
Ooh.
though. Just
Maybe.
one.
I was just going to say, is it just one? But I have both. So,
Aw.
yeah. Anyway, yeah, I do that a lot. You know that.
So you guys want to talk about Lower Decks?
You
want
can.
to talk about because I
We-
mean, one, I'm really excited because it was an awesome episode, and I love the characters that they're bringing back. Two, Dantron actually watched it, so I feel like we need to take full advantage of this situation and get involved, right?
I think it's. Did you watch just the latest one? So it was the second part of the cliffhanger.
First part of the cliffhanger.
Oh, the first part, the one with.
Yeah, the
Tom
one it
Hanks.
was like 4 days ago or 5 days ago or something like that. That was the latest one I saw on Paramount Plus.
I'm just trying to figure out where I'm at. Like, did I see the latest one or not? It was a cliffhanger ending where it's revealed it's Tom Paris and he has gray hair, right? That one?
Yeah, Nickel Carno. Yeah,
No, sorry, Nickel Carno. Yeah,
yeah,
you know that.
yeah. That's the one I watched. So I think
Okay,
we're on
all
the
right,
same
all right.
page.
I'm up to date. Okay, that's good. Sorry for
Yeah.
the initial.
I thought it was
confusion.
Wesley Crusher for a hot second. Or, not Wesley, but what's his name? The new dude. What's the new dude's name? Jack Crusher. I thought it was him for a second.
Oh my god,
that would be
I would,
awful.
I would immediately stop watching Lower Decks.
They're smart enough
Yeah.
to not do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the whole like, hey, somebody's chocolate in my peanut butter is good when you're like bringing something like 7 of 9 into a show that stars the girl from Ryan's Hope. I get that, but like, hey, somebody's chocolate is in my dog shit is that's we don't want that.
I find this funny whether it's true or not. I find it funny.
Yeah,
I think that's hilarious. What do you mean whether it's true or not?
What's Tom Paris doing? What's he doing?
That's the character, man. Tom Paris and Nick Locarno are both played by the same guy.
that's the joke.
That's the joke.
See?
See? But it's good. I'm glad you liked it without getting the jokes. This is awesome. Now we get to explain them.
The
Now we get to-
ending
now
was
we get to
meaningless
screen
to me.
rant
I'll
here.
be honest.
Good.
That ending, that was totally, utterly meaningless to me. Who that was, but I liked the episode and I liked the jokes overall throughout.
So this is all what? Well, so we need to set it up first, and then we'll explain the big meta joke of it all.
Before we get to that, can I just say that when you were gone, Dan and I talked a little about Talin and like what a cool addition to the crew she is.
Yeah,
So that the guys might know if you start talking about that.
yeah.
That should inform you going forward.
I have mixed feelings on Talin. I'll be honest. I think a lot of it is a bunch of weird, lonely dudes are kind of projecting their fantasies on her. But I also think
what? How? What?
Well, I think she's very popular among a very specific demographic of Star Trek fans.
I haven't been following that.
Well, and but yeah, I mean, so far so good. I think her and Boymes are going to get together, and it's going to be a whole thing.
So the one thing I said, I kind of went through 2 of my things of the list, but real quick, it's like, fuck you, Screen Rant, for fucking 10 sexiest Vulcan women in fucking 2023. I said to Dan, real quick, it's like, that's fine if it's the old days, because then you're at least like, yeah, Dr. Helen Noel was great. Look, you can see her ankle. Your audience is 65-year-old guys, and you know what you're doing, and that's great, right? But to do that article now, especially when Vulcans are so fucking awesome, and I said they brought Talin in, and she made the characters better, where all she does is the pure version of what they do in live-action Vulcans, and they just have Vulcans be the comment of what's going on, what the humans are doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whenever something fucking crazy happens, I said something like, all you have to do is have a Vulcan go, well, yes, the top coming off the mayonnaise jar is quite hilarious indeed. And it's just fucking crazy. If a human character did that, you'd be like, that guy's got autism or something. That's related to Tilly, or is this the next Discovery episode I haven't seen? But like, but that girl, whoever the actress is just fucking slaying it, and she
Yeah.
really just walked in with all the other cast members, and I think it's amazing. But Screen Rant looks at all that happening and goes, "Boobies." It drives
They could
me
have just
nuts.
done
Drives me
10
nuts.
sexiest Vulcans in general and thrown some dudes in there too, and then I think you're
Sure.
okay.
Sure.
But what is even the point of that, right? I mean,
Vulcans are sexy.
Well, I mean, you know exactly. It's the same thing as, you know, half of these Star Trek groups are just old horny dudes posting pictures of, you know, Nichelle Nichols in 1962. You know, it's like it's not a good part of the fandom. Let's not kid ourselves. But
it really
anyway,
isn't.
anyway, so yeah, so
Sag
Dan, if you don't know,
a new
I'm
Vulcan
sorry.
character.
Yeah, new Vulcan character, good. So there's an overarching plot to the season where there's this mysterious new enemy ship that's kind of capturing or destroying vessels. So it's a pretty cool feature where like the first 5 minutes of the episode or first 2 or 3 minutes of the episode is like this little vignette of what's going on some Klingon ship, and then the mysterious ship comes in and destroys the Klingon ship. The next week it's like a Ferengi ship, right? It's a fun little aspect of the season. So then the reveal this time is that it's Nick Locarno behind it all. That's the big reveal during the episode we just watched. So I really like that. I love the fact that they're bringing back Cito Jaxa, or at least just mentioning Cito Jaxa and Nick Locarno, all the original Lower Decks and First Duty characters. I really love all that stuff. I do have some issues with Mariner's Age, but I'm sure we can talk about that. That's I loved it. I lived and watched.
Oh yeah, like
we've talked about
how her age lines up.
It doesn't quite line up, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
I
we've talked the last couple episodes about how it's been kind of a lackluster season, and I think they're really shooting. I think they're going for the home run ending, and I think they're gonna nail it. I think they're calling their shot.
Can I just say one quick thing about Nick Locarno's ship?
Yes.
You noted what it looks like, right? I can't shut up about this, and my kid says only you see it, so I want you to see it. It's a fucking agonizer, man. You can't tell me that ship is not supposed to be an agonizer.
I mean, that would make sense with the big bright light and everything, you know. But I don't know.
I would love an agonizer. That's a prop I would love to have.
Yeah, that is a good
more
one.
than almost anything, I think.
Are you kidding me? Really? You know we can make that happen, right?
Yeah. I never even thought about it before. I used to have my favorite Star Trek prop. One of the only things I ever bought at a Star Trek convention, one of the only ones I went to, was from that Next Generation episode where there was like a collector who stole Mr. Data, kidnapped Mr. Data. And he had this weapon that was like the ultimate illegal handgun thing, pistol thing. And I saw it at a convention, and I'm like, then it really, I was like, this is the most obscure possible thing that I could own. And I loved it.
Cool.
Nice resin cast of it. And
love it.
That character's name was Kivas Fajo. And he was I forget the actor's name, but he was like Saul Rubinek, and he was a big guy in Warehouse 13. So
was he the guy from the West Wing too? Was he what?
Sure, yeah, he's a working actor for sure.
Yeah, he's a dude. So Dan, let me ask you, what did you like about this episode of Lower Decks?
Well, I was telling Larry, overall I liked it because one, I like it because it's very Next Generation-y, so I felt like really at home. Just like in the story beats, characters, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's also very Rick and Morty-ish. I didn't realize it was even the same production company.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is Rick and Morty. But the thing I loved the most was it felt like a good Star Trek episode, but is under 30 minutes. So it's like not a huge commitment. They have to cut all the fat out.
Mm-hmm.
They have to cut out those long ready room scenes where like they could really get to that in a sentence or two, but you know, they have the breathing space to do it. You just don't have that in a short cartoon. So I like it from that aspect. I think it would be hard to do live action. I think you could do it, but it would probably have to be longer than a half an hour, because I don't know if you could cut it the same way, but maybe not.
You saw the Strange New Worlds one, right?
Yeah, and that was an hour. So they did that.
I know, but they weren't in it for an hour. You could have it. I'm just saying that it was super clear that the pace that the actors were doing was just the same thing as in the cartoon.
Yeah.
They were on a different speed than the other actors, and I wouldn't think it was so different except when he would, like when Boimler was talking to Pike, it was like one of these guys is in molasses or the other guy's on drugs, one or the other, and it was so like cool. But so it proved to me though you could do that. You could take those scripts and do that live action.
I think you could. The thing and what I liked about it too is that they can go just like comics. Like you could get a higher budget plot in at a lower cost with the limited.
Yeah, definitely.
So they can, if they want to throw in a Borg ship or whatever they want, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't add that much.
Yeah, it's not a budget meeting.
And it's even
although it is a big deal if you talk to the animators and whatever, it's kind of a big deal. But whatever, it's not as big a deal. So that, I like the potential for me, one, to laugh, because it did make me laugh. Like it's genuine, it's not poorly written, it's well written.
Good.
Comedy is good and it's funny, and I laughed. And I'm gonna say 50%. Now I was gonna say 60% of the Star Trek references, but I'm gonna dial it down to maybe 40%. I don't know. Like I knew who the information broker dude, like just because I was I recognize that character, but I barely even remember who that character is.
Okay, good. This is awesome.
Yeah,
I'm glad it made you laugh. That's one thing that has been saving Lower Decks from all criticism is does it make you laugh? Yes or no? And for us, at least, it makes us laugh. Yeah.
Who's Jerry O'Connell? Because I'm usually pretty good at picking out voices, but
I don't think he was in this episode.
It's Ransom, the first officer.
He's the first officer on the ship. I don't think he's in this episode.
Okay, because I'm usually pretty good at that, but I didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I've been digging about his character this season is that they're showing like he was kind of a douchebag and like inwardly directed fuck up is how I would do it if I was writing their Bible. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, and so I would think. Like, is it the joke that this guy's kind of opposite of Starfleet? Because how do you get to be a first officer of a ship, which, okay, it's not the Enterprise, but it's it's a big deal. You're second in command. And like, all you seem to do is like give the kids shit and work out. And then this season, you start going, no, they were just playing all his strengths for laughs. And they start playing it for like serious now. And they're still presenting it in a funny way because it's a comedy show. But like, I was like, dude, another year and Ransom's going to be like the guy everybody cosplays. Because they gave that guy an arc and I didn't see it coming and I like fucking watched for that shit.
It was
really cool and subtle what they're doing with that character.
Yeah, and I love how they're evolving Mariner around get the fuck out of here. I like how they're stop doing that. Stop it.
I'm making it not
okay. All right. I like how they're evolving Mariner, her whole character, because that was also one of the critiques of the show in the beginning was, oh, she's not a real character. She's just making jokes all the time, which of course we all saw through because we have brains. But they're really ratcheting it up this year. And I mean, even to the point where this episode, she's having like a breakdown over her dead friend, which is tying together so many aspects of her personality and all of her decision making and all of her like history. It's all coming together, which I think, you and I both sort of called, like, they have to have a plan for this. Like, they're not going in cold and just being like, oh, here's another character. They're not, who are they? Kathleen Kennedy? But, wow. But I love seeing it. I love seeing it.
Paul Rudd floating.
I trust Mike McMahon.
You got to see the new South Park movie for the Kathleen Kennedy parts. It's really great, and it's not like a hatchet job on her either. So it's really cool.
I've heard good things, but I love just to keep with Lower Decks. I love that we're right, and I mean, I trust Mike McMahon. I wish Mike McMahon was put in charge of all Star Trek.
Oh, you and me both.
I wish he was the Dave Filoni of Star Trek. So.
I think that's going to happen because Dave Filoni didn't turn over to be Dave Filoni overnight.
No,
right? It just like became apparent to everyone involved that that's the guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Mike McMahon is doing.
Yeah. Well, Dave Filoni, he
at the end
started
of
off with Rebels.
well, that's
Well,
the thing.
Clone
I
Wars.
guarantee you, when they finish Lower Decks, he doesn't even take 3 months off before they announce that he's running a Star Trek show.
Yeah.
I hope they don't give him Starfleet Academy. I
Ugh,
hope they
yeah.
give him an adventure show.
Yeah, give him an adventure
just
show.
let him do it.
Of all people, he gets it. The adventure show.
He really
Have
does.
people going on adventures. It's really that simple. Like, that's something that the other Star Trek shows don't understand. Even Strange New Worlds to an extent, which has way too much non-adventure stuff.
Agreed. I agree with you there.
You know?
I started watching Letterkenny, and it made all that soap opera stuff a little more palatable, because now I see Captain McMurray show up, and I just hear her going, "Well, stick a fucking bottle up my ass. What are you gonna do?" But she's wearing a Starfleet uniform, so that's cool. Maybe that's my own thing. I don't know.
Cool though. What do you think about the reveal of Nick Locarno? Do you think good, bad, out of left field? What are we thinking? I didn't see it coming. I had no idea.
Me neither. That was out of left field for me.
Yeah, I honestly thought it was Tom Paris because of the plate.
Oh, yeah, the plate.
So, but Nick Locarno, I'm down, man.
Yeah.
That's cool. Though, you know what? I have to do this because I'm Larry. But my favorite fucking thing in this entire goddamn episode was seeing that they made the cool, garden door screen helmets from the environment suits from the but they drew them like they were in the Nemesis movie. And I looked at that, and Mimi she looks at me and she goes, "Don't do it."
Don't do it.
I'm just gonna pause the TV right there and just get up and leave and start making that suit.
Don't do it.
She just turns to me and goes, "Don't do it."
I mean, they're pretty awesome.
It was cool. I was like,
"Oh
my god!" Cool. But that's just that little fucking detail. I'm like, I'm not the only guy who saw that. Everybody was like, if you care about the old suits from the Tholian web, then you look at that and go, "Oh, those are close. Oh my god, they did the things, but it's in the shape of the Nemesis." My mind's blown.
And that's a great
somebody
example.
had that thought, let's do that for the kids who get it. And
that's a great example of, always talking about, how do you modernize old Star Trek, right? With like Strange New Worlds. How do we make a Star Trek set in the same time period, but modernize it, right? There's a perfect example. And it makes perfect sense, right? It fits totally. I did not see Nick Locarno coming at all. I'm super glad that they're tying it all together. I think it's a really interesting choice just in terms of narrative, because now it's putting Mariner back into TNG.
Yeah, can you explain that now, Mr. Time Travel Technology guy?
Well, so here's the deal.
Because it makes her about 40 years old, right?
At the very least, like 32-ish.
Okay.
So so it all depends on when she started Starfleet Academy, right? So officially, according to Star Trek, you can start Starfleet Academy at age 16, right? Normal American is like 18 to 22, right? That's a normal college, right? 18 to 22. So let's assume 18 to 22. Cito Jaxa is class of 2369. Now, here's a fun fact that I guarantee you not even Star Trek people know this, but Starfleet Academy graduation is in December. And I know this because I've looked at star dates. When it's the class of 69, what they're really saying is you graduate in December of 69, right? So anyway, that's fine. It doesn't matter.
No, that's awesome.
Cito Jaxa gets held back a year, effectively, right? For her Culver shenanigans. Dan, you'll find all about that when you get to the Nick Locarno part. But she is a sophomore, I believe, or a junior. Well, she's one of those. And she gets held back a year. She graduates in 2369. She finally gets put on the Enterprise in 2370. The last season of Next Generation is 2370, right? How did I get on here? I put you here. That's that's the whole Picard speech. I just rewatched this literally like last week.
I was just thinking, I have to watch this now. Nice job,
I just
Josh.
completely randomly watched it like last week. It was the stupidest thing. Anyway, so where does that leave us with Mariner? Because in the timeline of Lower Decks, we're currently in 2380, right? or 2381, depending on 2382, depending on how fast time is moving. But so the show starts in 2380. So we're in the 2380s at some point. This is season 4 or whatever. So let's assume 2382. Let's assume, right? So Mariner is, they try to imply that she's a year behind Ceto Jaxa. But she's also friends with Ceto Jaxa. It was very confusing the way she did that.
It kind of works if you think she's like Chekhov level genius.
Right.
I guess it kind of works. You can kind of squint at it.
And if she's young, I mean, her parents in Starfleet, right?
And
so let's assume she goes in at 16, right? Yeah. So she's getting out in 20. She graduates in, let's say, 2370. She's 20 years old. She's born in 2350. That puts her at 31, 32-ish in Lower Decks.
They just might be a little older, right? Because they got to Starfleet a little later.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, and I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I don't have an issue with her being, 30 years old or whatever. Boimler, everyone's the first episode, he says something to the effect of like, "Aren't you my age?" And like she never answers him. So like I think they had not this specific plot, but they knew all along. And then that would explain why she's been on 5 ships, the flashback to the Dominion War, all that stuff. Right?
Dude,
so she's graduating in 2370 when the Dominion War is about to kick off. 23 to 2375, right? So it's like she's in the thick of the Dominion War. She's losing people left and right. Then she kind of comes out. She just wants to be an ensign again.
That explains all her battle scars and shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Nice job. See, that's why I kind of had that feeling, but I was like, I can't wait to talk to John, who will just spit facts at us.
The sad thing is, I've written.
It's fucking December, pal. I've looked at the start dates. That's awesome.
The sad that none of this is written down. This is all right up here, right? So
that's why, man. That's why Patton Oswalt's fucking funny and stuff, but I have such pushback on that whole like, oh, he's a comedy guy because he talked for 8 minutes straight about Star Wars. I'm like. No. I don't know anyone who can't do that.
Right.
Like, are you fucking mental? And like, you just proved it. You just talked for 10 minutes about like, when
Stardates in 2370. Yeah.
It's and like, I'm looking up.
Oh, nice job, Patton.
I'm over here looking up Nick Locarno, and it's like it's an obscure character from an old Next Generation episode, right?
Yeah.
So is it spelled out at the end of that episode who that is or what that implies, or it was just
Nick Locarno is the leader of this sort of the demonstration team, like the Blue Angels of Starfleet, right? He's the leader and he's a senior in Starfleet Academy. He's about to graduate and he tries to rig it so they do this super cool maneuver, except it doesn't work and one of the cadets dies and they try to cover it up, right? And so everybody loves Nick Locarno. Everybody loves Robert Duncan McNeil. So they put him in Voyager. The problem is they can't use the name Nick Locarno, so they literally just write the same character, but with Tom Paris instead. So, like, Trekkies are like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to know what happened to Nick Locarno for the last, 30 years? So here we go. Now we know. He's about to get... And he knows Mariner, too. Like, he knows it's Mariner.
See, that's what's cool is because... that's why like Chris said, I thought it was Outrageous Arcana because he was in Prodigy, but Nick Locarno was Lower Decks. He was like the original Lower Decks as far as all Star Trek fans are concerned. So any story, it's going to be one of the Lower Decks guys, and I hope the Vulcan guy shows up and he's all like, fucking don't do that, that's my role. And
that's kind of I love that meta joke too.
Great.
Where, I love that meta joke where it's like, Ceto Jaxa, like her death is the fundamental like emotional heartbeat of the episode Lower Decks, which gets you the series Lower Deck. Meta connection there.
But the reason they're able to address it is because it spawned a show that they could address it in.
Right, exactly.
I think that's amazing. Anyway,
I thought the emotional depth was surprising. I thought the message of like peace very much resonated in this time of crazy conflicts, by which I'm referring to the Taylor Swift argument that Larry and I had last week, of course.
She's a
maniac. I thought it really helped to bring sides together.
But I mean, but again, to your
it felt like a real episode of Star Trek more than I thought it would.
Yeah. And they do that more often than not. More often than not, Lower Decks episodes they feel like Star Trek episodes, which is one of the reasons, like, you know, a lot of people stopped watching in the first season because they couldn't handle the pacing, or they couldn't handle the jokes or whatever. They're like, oh, whatever. But if you kept watching, you really great Star Trek episodes in those first couple seasons. Like, I mean, just nonstop, just great Star Trek. You know, good morals, good ethics, good decision making. They just do it in a funny, sort of modern humor kind of way, which is always awesome.
Yeah, good pacing and directing and writing overall. Like nothing for me to really pick at and go like that was stinky. And the animation's limited, but it's used well in service of pretty cool plot.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what happens. Sagasag is warning us not to watch spoiler clips.
I was waiting for you guys to take a breath because I want to hear about this. What is that about? Are you just talking about the coming next week clip? Because sometimes
talk to us, Chris.
You can't just leave that out there.
What days do the new episodes drop?
Thursday.
Yeah. Sorry, Tuesday.
Thursday.
Okay.
So yeah. Today's Tuesday. I'm a little behind on Loki though, so that's my big concern.
I can't do those shows.
I'm telling you guys, you will really like the new South Park movie that just came out. Super funny, talking about artificial intelligence and like and the whole Kathleen Kennedy or whatever, the feminization and stuff, and how it's like just all about fear of replacement. That's almost like the theme of the whole thing. But super
funny. I've heard good things about it.
Well balanced, but like the Cartman as Kathleen Kennedy is so funny. And iconic that it's going to be used by all the wrong people. Like all his it's so funny.
Is it like all the people who think Cartman is a good guy are going to be glomming onto this?
This is exactly. Yeah. And they're not going to get that he is like being lampooned, like his sensibility.
Right.
That's what I really like about the South Park writers. They really write it on a level that's pretty like somewhat objective in that way.
Yeah. South Park's always good for that.
To make fun of everybody.
Sagasag says, it's a clip to the upcoming episode. The preview is on TrekCore. Well, I mean, if it's a preview, it can't be too spoilery, right? I don't know.
Could be.
What do I know? I'm just excited to find out.
I'm on there right now. Oh, the clip. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of pictures. It's just, bridge shots, but I haven't played.
I can't stand Trek movie. I can't stand Screen Rant.
No. TrekCore is the place that has all the high res screen caps.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so every once in a while they do little news things. So yes, you love TrekCore.
Trek movie. It's Trek movie.
Trek movie. Like. Those guys are jerks.
Yeah, they're assholes. I don't like them. Fuck them.
They said one of the dumb things I linked to on the Facebook group yesterday.
They say stupid things all the fucking time.
It was just
Trek movie is just it's the Screen Rant of Star Trek.
What are you doing?
Which is bad. Very bad. So yeah, cool. Any missed the first however much, but sorry to miss it, but I'm back, and you got a nice little history lesson on Starfleet Academy.
I loved it.
So congratulations, everyone.
How do we do though? I feel like we need to be graded on our attention span. I would give you top marks. That was great. Very informative, entertainingly presented. Thank you.
There will be no curve.
What's the big plans for Halloween, fellas?
I'm gonna walk the dog.
Yeah, I'm getting my Ghostbusters gear out and answering the door.
Nice.
No one ever comes to our place, but
trick or treating is not. I'm gonna put on my old man hat, but it ain't what it used to be, fellers.
Yeah, it's not.
You know what I'm saying? It's like
depends on where you live. Come to the beach, man. I got all kinds.
No, a lot of places aren't very walkable, right? If you don't live on a walk, like we live on a semi-busy road. It's like, dude, I wouldn't walk down that street.
My house is lame. My little neighborhood, but the town does the town square. They open all the businesses and they let all the businesses give out candy.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
Yeah, and then they're out of their trunks with strangers. With their
Yeah.
fentanyl mints and stuff. Right?
I'm gonna go pass out razor blades and cyanide caps.
Yeah. Razor blades.
Hey, can you turn that shit off so I can tell you about this Star Trek thing I saw that was funny?
Sure.
There
Yeah.
was somebody had a pile of candy with a bat'leth in it, and it said, "Hey, be careful! I found this bat'leth in my kid's candy." That's hilarious.
That's awesome.
I couldn't hear it, Larry. I'm sorry.
Nah, that's all right. What are you gonna do,
Guys, I gotta go take care of some children, but it's been another wonderful episode of Serious Star Trek. I just want to say that in a world of chaos, where I just feel the swirl of emotions every other hour of the week, except for this one, where I feel a whole different swirl of emotions about a whole different set of contentious issues, and but I love it. It keeps my soul complete. So I appreciate it. Appreciate all those people out there, and I appreciate you guys a lot for this time.
Aw, we appreciate you too.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for watching Star Trek.
If it wasn't for you, none of us would, put up the initiative to actually set it up. So,
I'm not about my thumbnail efforts. I'm building new sets.
That's right, man.
For this week, it's brand new. Thanks for watching. Hey, if you go, guys, give me a chance. If you like this thing, go to Facebook and say you liked it. Click the thumbs up. If you didn't, click thumbs down, but maybe put a comment. Give me some engagement. YouTube likes that. Whether it's anger or love, they don't really make a distinction. They just like attention. So we'll be back 1 week from today. Tuesday. It'll be 3 p.m. Pacific Earth time. Oh, man. But Captain Phone, where do you think we should do this thing?
On the internet.